Hey, what's up, nerds? It's Paul at Radio Free Hammerhall, and today we're talking about the Eightfold Doom-Sigil. This endless spell is actually really good, but it has really cumbersome wording that is really terrible, and it makes people not want to touch it with an 8-foot chaos pole. So let's go through what this stupid thing does. And let me try and translate this into English. And, maybe some other people will get hip to it and start running it. So it is an endless spell, obviously enslaves to darkness. It is only a mere 40 points. So it is cast on a 5. It has a range of 6 inches. So you need to get a caster up in the fray or close to it to actually get this thing out there. When it's successfully cast, you set it up more than 1 inch from all other models and other endless spells and invocations. All right, that part is standard endless spell crap. You know this. You probably, have a love-hate relationship with it, depending on who you are. And, what your history is. Maybe you have some trauma. I don't know. So let me start with kind of the end and work through how it works. Basically, this thing is handing out +1 to the attack characteristic of all of a unit's melee weapons. It can end up selecting multiple units. They have to be your units. They can't. This can't affect your opponent's units. It excludes the attacks of mounts. Not really a big deal. Your best attacks in Slaves to Darkness are generally on your dudes, not on their mounts. At least for the majority of what people use. Okay, so. +1 to attacks is a huge benefit. That's really substantially increasing your offensive power, obviously. Hopefully, you all understand the power of that. So, how do you actually get that benefit and who gets it? Number 1, you track the number of models that are slain within 12 inches of this endless spell every turn. So some bookkeeping. Every model that is slain within 12 inches, note this one is not wholly within, it is within. At the end of every turn, you roll a die for each model that was slain within 12 inches. So that counter that you have going on it, you roll that many dice at the end of the turn. For every 3+, one of your Slaves to Darkness units wholly within 18 inches of this endless spell will get that +1 attack. The trick here is who gets to pick. And it is chosen by the player whose turn it is. So if it is your turn, you roll those, you count up the number of 3-ups that you roll, and then that many units you get to choose wholly within 18 inches to get +1 to their attacks. If it's your opponent's turn, your opponent chooses. But you can't pick the same unit twice. So if you roll enough for, all of your units that are wholly within 18 inches, your opponent doesn't get to choose. It's just everybody. And then this is until that player's next hero phase. So if it is during your opponent's turn that this happens, they pick which units, and then those units get that +1 to their attacks until your opponent's next hero phase. Then when it is your turn, you get to make these same rolls, and they'll get the +1 to their attacks until the end of or I'm sorry, until your next hero phase. Now, this is not going to stack, so units can only ever get +1 to attack at any given time. But you can basically chain this so that your units just always are getting +1 to their attacks. And 18 inches is a huge bubble. Like, that's like, think about it this way. That's an 18-inch radius. So that's 36 inches across. That's more than half of the width of the board. So this is basically like the whole like active area that you're fighting in for the most part. So that's basically how this stupid thing works. It's once you get down how it triggers, when it ends, and all of that, it's not actually that complicated, and it's giving you a really powerful buff for not a lot of points. So I personally am going to start using this now that I actually understand how the friggin' thing works. And, just going to move on from there. I'm going to be bringing this to the Atlantic City Open, which is in just over a week. So I got my list submitted for that. Going to do another video about what my list is, how I got there, what I'm planning with that. Also playing Slaves to Darkness, obviously. Really loving the army. And yeah, nice short, sweet one today, guys. Just thought I would drop some thoughts in about the Eightfold Doom-Sigil so that maybe people actually can learn how to use this stupid thing. But let's keep this kind of under wraps a little bit, guys, so that the points don't get jacked up, because that would suck. 40 points is really like, it's so cheap that it just, like, a lot of times you're just going to have 40 points left over in your army, so you could slam this in. So yeah, nice little extra. Casting value of 5 makes it easy for your opponent to get rid of, but it also makes it very easy for you to get out there to begin with. And even if your opponent's going to get rid of it, they are still going to have to deal with the +1 attacks that you get the turn that it's still on the table. So you're going to get at least 1 turn out of this. If your opponent doubles you, then you get 2. So yeah, I mean, it's pretty solid, and your opponent may not understand the power of it because it's complicated. And yeah, and even if they want to get rid of it, they're wasting a spell cast on dispelling an endless spell, which is kind of to your benefit, because as long as you have plenty of spell casts and you're not doing this instead of something else you want to do, like, it's more or less free. Like, if you're running in Kabbalists, like, you've got plenty of spell casts to throw around. Anyway, that's going to be it, kids. I'll talk to you all later.